Greetings, denizens of the interweb. Welcome to episode 7 of the PISCOPOD. I am your host. Thanks for tuning in on this Sunday. Yeah, there is lots going on in the world. But before we get rolling, if you guys aren't subscribing yet, down below there's a subscribe button. Please go hit it and subscribe. And you'll get notifications, I guess, every Sunday or whatever when I run a new episode. I do appreciate the support that I've gotten so far, and I do appreciate the feedback. I welcome any and all sides of whatever it is that I'm covering. As I've said numerous times, we need to talk. We need to talk openly. We need to look at both sides of stuff, and some of you might agree with what I say on some topics. Some of you might cringe, and some of you might downright oppose things that I'm saying. And that's okay. That's, that means that we're in a free society. We're able to, air opinions and stuff like that. I don't mean hate, and, I don't call for violence, I don't think. Not yet, anyway. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Where do we start? I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't start with the Coldplay debacle. You kids catch that on the social media? So, here's the backstory. CEO of some billion-dollar company, Byron, last name. I don't want to get into the details because he's a dirtbag. Anyway, he's caught at a Coldplay concert with his head of HR snuggling up. And, his life has been turned upside down, to say the least, both of theirs. What I do find funny, though, is that a lot of the coverage that's been going on about it has been pretty one-sided. You haven't, up until just recently, started to hear more about the woman who was in his arms. I can't even remember the name. But anyway, both married. There's some speculation, allegedly, that the woman, the CEO, had no idea that she was married, and that the woman was kind of like manipulating to get up the corporate ladder. I don't know if that's accurate. I really don't think that matters, in my opinion. Both married, both with families. Just unsavory. And then the guy writes a half-hearted apology that he doesn't want to be that guy, but yet he's also remiss by, taking umbrage at the fact that such a private moment was caught so publicly. And it's like, fuck, dude, you just don't know when to shut the hell up. If you think about it logically, if they wouldn't have made the big spectacle when the camera shot on them, I mean, they might have still got caught, but the likelihood would have been quite less, right? Unless his wife is at home watching. Like, nobody would have even filmed that, right? In order to make it go viral like it did, right? So if they would have just played it cool, not that I'm condoning adultery here, don't get me wrong. But if they could have just, kept it cool instead of acting like jerk-offs on the Jumbotron, they would have probably got away with it. But I'm glad. Dirtbags like that, they deserve to get caught, and they deserve their lives turned upside down. Cheating has got to be one of the worst, right up there. One of the worst things that you can do to another human being. Hey, relationships fall apart all the time. You know what I mean? But, that kind of stuff is just leaves a really terrible taste in my mouth. Anyway, so that was going on. That was pretty funny. The memes for the past couple of days regarding that have just been fire. If you guys are friends with me on Facebook, I've probably shit posted 1,000 of them since, because they're hilarious. Everything from the Bill Cosby ones to the one of my favorite is the Ace Frehley from Kiss and Vinnie Vincent in his current appearance. Hilarious. But yeah, so their lives were turned upside down. I feel sorry for the wife and the husband of the parties involved. I mean, her life is turned upside down. Like, imagine finding out, first of all, that your husband likes Coldplay, but that he likes Coldplay and he's playing ass grab with the HR lady. So that company has all sorts of problems going on with it now because of this. I have read in places that there was a couple of employees. They had like a one of those non-fraternization policies with the company, like that employees can't date each other or whatever. I don't know if that's allowed or if that's a thing, but that was kind of like the culture from my understanding. And so a couple of employees got fired for breaking that rule. And when they said, hey, wait a minute, there's more of this going on under this roof than just, us. Well, it turns out who he was reporting to was the head of the HR, which is the other people in that organization that were playing ass grab with company employees. In her case, the CEO of the company. So, yeah, that kind of stuff. In today's day and age, it really fucks things up, I'm thinking, right? Because, if a guy's going to do something like that, or a woman is going to do something like that to their spouses who they've claimed to love unconditionally, till the day that they die and married in front of God or whatever, practicing religion you're part of or whatever, right? But it's a commitment and it should have meaning, right? So if those kind of people are willing to do that, and the only thing that really bothers them is A, that they got caught, and B, that they were dumb enough to do it in front of, 75,000 people, and that they got it caught on 4K for the world to see. That's really the vibe that I got from the whole, at least from his camp and with his comments and stuff like that. It just seemed very douchey to me, you know what I mean? But yeah, so they're busted. It's causing like a rat's nest of fallout within the company. If people are doing that to their loved ones, can they be trusted? Right? Can they be trusted for doing business? What kind of unscrupulous things might they do on the business end? You know what I mean? It's like, it's just bad news all around. Speaking of bad news all around, how about that Epstein list? I mean, I'm seriously at a loss for words. Poof, it's just gone. Epstein committed suicide for no apparent reason. Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison for trafficking non-existent victims. But I guess, in fairness, they're not saying that they're non-existent victims. They're saying that they're trying to protect the victims, because that's what they're doing. No sooner was that Epstein list magically vanished that Prince Andrew, the crown pedophile of the British Empire, allegedly, wink, wink, couldn't have been him because he was sweating too much and he didn't sweat at the time. Anyway, so he reared his ugly predator head as soon as that Epstein list disappeared. As I said in my last episode, that was a signal to all of us. It was like a big middle finger, two big middle fingers, man. They're flying the birds at us. They're like, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're going to do it. We're telling you every day. We're showing you every day. And there's not a fucking thing that you can do about it. So suck it up, Buttercup, and move on, because there's nothing to see here. That's what's going on. Trump is gaslighting even his supporters. They're still talking about Epstein. Yeah. Yeah. This was for real. It wasn't a hoax, like he said. As I've said before, I don't think that he is on the list in a compromising way. I'm thinking, that's kind of what my instinct tells me. I think that he's complicit. I think that he knew what was going on. I can't be certain of that, but I mean, you and I, we all have unsavory friends, and if you don't, maybe you're the unsavory friend. But, we all have or have had people in our lives like that, where you don't have to know their intimate details, but oh fuck, something creepy or something shady is going on there. You know what I mean? Where you count your silverware after they leave your house and stuff like that. I joke. But you know what I'm saying, right? So, he's gaslighting his supporters. You guys are still talking about this, and these are Republicans that have, what did he say? Basically, drank the Kool-Aid. But again, right? You have to don't look at what they're saying now. Look at everything that they said up until this point. I believe that if the Democrats had dirt on Trump and the Epstein list, they would have for sure released it. No doubt in my mind about it. So that's what gives me pause. That's what gives me pause to believe that I don't think that Trump himself is uncompromised or is in a compromising position on any of those tapes. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It's really amazing how you can tell that they're in panic mode. In the way that Trump is releasing health details. And anybody that's been following his rise, whatever, to the office that he's in now, knows that he used to hide everything from his weight to all sorts of things in reference to his health, and I mean understandably so. If that was me, right, I wouldn't want everybody to know whatever. Personal health details and stuff like that. But I guess that's part of the office. But what has been happening is it's been undeniable. People have been posting pictures of his ankles and stuff like that. And wow, how he jams those hoofs into those patent leather shoes every day is a miraculous feat. His ankles, very swollen. Looks like he has Babar legs. Any of you remember? Am I dating myself? Babar the elephant. Remember him? Take a look at, Google it. Type in Babar the elephant and then look at the guy's feet. Trump feet. Anyway, so he's been posting about his health. So again, that tells me that they are pulling out all the stops in order to kind of smoke and mirrors and get our minds off of that. Let that be water under the bridge, if you will. Alligator Alcatraz is at full capacity. Seems like a swinging place. People all over the internet are still in full-blown meltdown mode over that. Different sides. Yeah. What side do you fall on? People are calling it concentration camps. I think that's a little overly dramatic of an analogy of a concentration camp. I mean, Christ, they have beds and air conditioning and stuff like that. Certainly these people are detained. But what do? These people are illegal. They're not criminals. Well, by definition, they are. If they are in the country illegally, then by definition, they are criminal. So, from a humanitarian standpoint, I can see how someone could go like, oh, how can you do this? You know, these people are fleeing whatever hardships they're fleeing from. And certainly there's going to be many. There's many of them that are probably in there that I would probably rather have as a neighbor than my neighbor. You know? But I'm born of immigrants. I'm in this beautiful country we call Canada as an immigrant. I came here, I didn't speak a lick of the language. And my parents and I, we got our citizenship the right way. It meant something to us. We never tried to bring our culture and kind of ram it down the throats of Canadians. I mean, that's why we came to Canada, so that we could become Canadian, not that we could be, well, my father was Italian and my mother was German, but, right? Not that we could be Italians living in Canada, right? Even though that we still had, you know, our own cultural things. You know, my dad was a member of the Italian club and you know, Christmases and stuff like that were always very diverse in culture and stuff, but we were always Canadian. And we strive to be Canadian. Now, you know, we have our installed leader, Montgomery Burns Carney, as I'd like to call him, because he really is this unsavory old sack of donkey dung. You know, he really gets my blood boiling. So this guy has literally been lying through his teeth in order to get elected as the Prime Minister of Canada, because, like I said, he was installed as a puppet leader for the Liberal government. He was actually Trudeau's financial advisor in the terrible decade that we had under the Trudeau government. So, good old Carney, with his elbows up, he has now shown the people of Canada, those who want to see it, that he has no intentions of being elbows up, and his preferred position is more like on his knees. He plans on not implementing tariffs. He basically had that plan all along, so he was lying all the way through in order to get elected. As a Canadian living here, I'm shocked to see what's happening to my country. Shocked is an understatement. I was recently talking to a friend who happens to be privileged enough to live both here and south of the border. Kind of 50-50 or 60-40, I don't know how that works. But he spends him and his betrothed, they spend their summers here in the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Alberta, and he's a native to this area who's now living down in the States. But anyway, he was telling me that he went into one of the local staples in the area. There's a McKay's ice cream shop in Cochrane, Alberta, which is like this old one-horse town kind of thing. It's getting bigger now, right? As every city does. But anyway, so he went to McKay's Ice Cream, and, at risk of sounding bigoted, but at this point I don't give a shit anymore. Like, he said it was like 98% we're all non-Canadians technically, but it was like 98%. I don't know. I don't even know how to say this without having the fucking YouTube police up my ass. But it was 98% foreigners from other countries, not Europe. Anyway, I work with many of them. Love them. Great people. Not all of them, though. And there sure is a lot of them. We let 1 million people a year into this country. We are lucky if we build 250,000 homes a year in certain places here. So you don't have to be Einstein to do the math that it's going to create problems. But we ask ourselves, when Carney was voted in as the, he's like this economic genius, and even though the history books have shown that when he was head of the Bank of England, it was disastrous. When he was Trudeau's advisor for 5 of the 10 lost years, as they're called. He was Trudeau's advisor. They were disastrous. Like he has no concrete plan, certainly not for Canada. And with his ongoing thing, with his conflicts of interest, where all my assets are in a blind trust and I don't know what's going on, and that's what I'm supposed to do, so that's what I'm doing, and I don't have any conflicts of interest. And it turns out that he has not one, not two, but over 500 of them. Many of his holdings are in the United States. So, is it a conflict of interest that we're getting charged tariffs on stuff that he's going to make profit on, and then at the same time, his country that he's leading is not going to charge tariffs on products that his companies may or may not have to purchase in order to do business? So that, to me, looks like a conflict of interest two ways. What else is going on here with his government? Well, how about the two-tier justice system? Now, people might think I'm a conspiracy guy, but I'm not. All you need to do is do a bit of research, watch some cases unfold. We have the kid just most recently, 14 years old, black kid, looks like a thug. And again, I might be called bigoted, but when you see the picture that they posted of him, granted, the media does not. They're not going to pick him, at his bar mitzvah. They're going to post the one where he's like, I don't know, having a rough day, looking like he wants to shit kick the world kind of thing, right? That's what they're going to post because it generates views, right? It's like, oh my God, look at that kid. Let me read about it, right? So anyway, this 14-year-old kid stabs a 71-year-old woman for her car keys, I think is what it was. And being the criminal genius that he is, later goes onto social media and posts this video on how he yoked this old lady, but he didn't want to, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So yeah, so this kid's 14 years old. We'll see what happens with him. For my American friends that are tuning in, I don't know if you ever heard about the Greyhound cannibal guy that we had up here in Canada. Anyway, this mentally deranged guy, while on a Greyhound trip from Alberta to, I think it was Saskatchewan, decides to cut off the head of the guy that's sitting next to him and proceed to devour part of it as horrified onlookers are trying to make their way to Moose Jaw. This guy gets convicted, is totally bonkers. Like, I mean, his elevator does not make it to the top floor. Spends a short time in jail. And then gets released with no provisions other than the fact that he has to remain on his medication. Because we all know that, criminals and psychopaths, they tend to do what they're told once they're told something, right? Isn't that what happens? So they release the guy and they allow him to change his name. And he's out and about in the world, who knows where, because they don't have to tell you. But he's out in the world, and who knows? Who knows where? Doing what? Nobody knows. Maybe the law does, but they won't tell us. They won't tell the public, right? So this guy's out and about and loose. But the guy that fired warning shots when people were trying to jack his equipment, I actually know of a fella in my area. Somebody was trying to steal his trucks or some farm equipment, and he shot at him, and he shot the one guy in the arm. And this guy spent years suing the homeowner for shooting him. This is the world we live in. This is Canada. We have no castle laws. If you kill someone that's coming in with an axe to rape your, I can't even say it, to harm your family, and you unalive them, you can go to jail where I live. You can go to jail. And I'm not talking about like a 30-day stint. I'm talking about like a long time, like you're doing a stretch for protecting your property. Crazy times. What else do we got on the justice system? We got the two people that organized the Freedom Convoy, the trucker convoy. Their charges were dropped, but the Crown, they're still trying to get them to do 2 years in jail for something on some drummed up bullshit in order to lock these people up. And they're trying to seize the one guy's livelihood. The guy's like a truck driver, and they're trying to seize his livelihood. They're trying to repossess the rig. Even though the courts sided with the people, that the government used overreach in order to enact the emergency services or whatever, the Emergency Measures Act. The courts ruled that they overstepped. The charges were dropped by the courts, but they still want him in jail for 2 years. But on the flip side, there's an immigrant recently in Sudbury, Ontario, who tried to procure, let's say, the services of a 15-year-old. This guy went to court, basically pleaded guilty, and was given by the justice a conditional discharge so that it would not impede his chances of gaining citizenship into Canada, so that they couldn't deport him. So he's a predator trying to engage underage minors, and so that we don't deport this class act, he's given a conditional sentence. Are you guys following me? And this is happening all across Canada. If that's not enough, do you remember the guy that it was also down east, an immigrant? He was doing 200 kilometers an hour, drunk, caused an accident, hurt some people. If you and I did that, if you and I did half of that, we'd be sitting in jail. But because he is of the right ethnicity, he was given a $5,000 fine. And again, it was noted in the record that they did not want it to impede or facilitate deportation. So he's impaired, hurting Canadian citizens, driving like an idiot, and he gets a $5,000 fine. You can't make this shit up, folks. You really can't. I mean, you can go back to like the stuff going on in the States. They're doing this shit in front of our faces, and it's like they're laughing at us. It's like, what are you guys gonna do? You know? 2 for flinching. What are you guys gonna do? Let me give you some facts about some of this stuff going on. Carbon taxes here in Canada, big. Trying to tax everything. Everything is part of climate change. The stuff that we do know about climate change, like the Canadian Green Slush Fund that they had, was all a scam. There was people skimming millions upon millions of dollars off of tax-paying Canadians for this fake green plan that they had. It's been proven that it's a scam. What does our illustrious leader do with his henchmen of hand-picked puppets? Well, they seal the files. So now nobody can look into their shady dealings with the green agenda. I've said this before. It's like we live in one of those snow globes. And I'm all for going greener and stuff like that. But if you have companies like India and China, the United States now no longer, carbon tax and stuff like that. So there's not much that one little country, even many countries, can do as long as everybody isn't on board. Let me tell you some facts about Canada, though. Canada has the 3rd largest forested country on the planet, but we pay a carbon tax. Technically, our carbon footprint is almost neutral because our land mass of trees, I can't remember how they calculated it, but our land mass of trees takes out exponentially more carbon out of the atmosphere than we produce as a nation with all our Western gas guzzling trucks and yeehaw, right? So it's a scam, folks. We have the 3rd largest forested country on the planet, but we're paying carbon tax. We have the 3rd largest oil reserves, I believe, on Earth. Yet they pause our energy production, forcing us to buy our energy from less sustainable resources, for lack of a better word. Certainly less friendly to Western society sources. But nonetheless, when you look into why we're getting our oil shipped from abroad rather than producing our own oil, is because that, these governments and these leaders and these puppets, they all have investments in these companies. Carney in his oil companies in Brazil and Dubai or Qatar or wherever it is. He's heavily invested in oil, just not Canadian oil. And the reason that he's not invested in Canadian oil is because none of his blind trust assets are invested in it. So they're running a scam. Firearms in Canada is another thing. 90% of all firearm crimes are at the hands of criminals using guns that have come in from the United States of America. That's not hating on my southern friends. I'm just telling you the facts. I'm just telling you the facts. 90%. Yet our government is feverishly, they don't even want you to own a hunting rifle anymore if they had their way. And with the way that the government is going, with the way that I see the world going, you can kind of draw the correlation as to why they might be disarming you. Or, wanting you to not have the means to fight back, right? Digital currency, we'll just shut off your money. If you can't feed yourself or your family, you might toe the line a little better. Transportation, your electric cars. We don't want you to move. It's a health pandemic. You need to stay at home. Oh, you don't want to stay at home? No problem. No power. Can't charge your electric car. Can't charge your electric car. Can't pull money out for groceries. Here's what you're going to do, and we'll turn it all back on for you. I know you guys might think I'm cuckoo, but do you really? Do you really think after everything that you see all across the world that this is not what, maybe even if you want to say it's not their plan, you don't think that that's in the back of their head as to, hey man, you know what? If anything goes south, here's what we're going to do. If you're Canadian, you can appreciate the fact, right? In a Canadian winter, the fuck are you going to do when they turn your fucking power off that you can't charge your cars or get a hot Timmy's? Are you going to walk somewhere? Are you going to walk to freedom in 30 below weather with 90 kilometer an hour winds, right? Wake up, people. Use your heads. What else can I tell you about my Canada? Can't afford housing. We let 1 million people in per year. Like I said, the math, it just doesn't make sense. There's zero evidence that carbon tax does any significant benefits to climate change. Yet we are forced to do it. Forced. Somebody's telling you, Bob, you're going to go to work and you're going to work your ass off every day. And at the end of every day, we're going to take X amount of your money that you've earned through your hard work. And the stuff that we don't take from you, we're going to tax it even more. So every time you fill your car up so that you can get to your job, we're going to jack the price of gas up because, the climate. You're hurting the climate, Bob. Taking that F-150, out to the whatever the fuck you do for a living, right? Folks, I don't know what to tell you, man. We can't lose this battle. I was actually going to say I think we're losing the battle, but I mean we can't lose this battle. We can't lose this common sense. It's unsustainable. Canada had 50,000 international students. 50,000 international students that didn't show up for their first day of school. These aren't international students. These people are invaders. What are they doing? Right? What are they doing? What are these people doing, coming in and demanding that we abide by their culture. They're using our own system against us because everything is bigoted. Everything is racist. I mean, everything. The WNBA, they got this big stink going on. You know, that the women feel like they're underpaid compared to the men. The pay difference is significant, but the metrics of it, they don't put ass in the seats. Have you ever watched an NBA game? No. But if you had the misfortune of one, there's like 10 people in the crowd. They don't put ass in the seats. Right? So as a business, they're not making money. But, you know, the patriarchy and it's white men and this, that, and the other thing. And they're racist because most of the players are black, and the only players that they give the real breaks to are the white ones. You know, when we're talking about the Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese fray that's going on. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, folks. We need to open our eyes, man. We need to start we need to start having a bit of pushback, I think. We're getting attacked from all sides. All sides. If it isn't the government, and if you've learned anything about the Epstein list, can you at least admit that we now know that that there's something way more powerful than the government that is controlling things? Like, did we really just let this slide by, you know? Do we really just turn a blind eye? People like the CRA and the IRS, they'll hunt you down relentlessly. You know, if you owe them $100. You had a guy like Jeffrey Epstein, who is a no college degreed billionaire with private jets, the largest house in the largest private home in Manhattan, I think, was also flown. He had his own island, right? Nobody knew where his money came from. Nobody. But the IRS knows that, buddy, you owe us $100. Our own prime minister. You know, like I said, in our country, it's the Canada Revenue Agency, the CRA, right? They'll hunt you down for $100, but his company, Brookfield Asset Management, they've dodged $6 billion in taxes because of his offshore accounts in like Bermuda and tax havens and stuff like that. So he's dodged $6 billion in taxes. And what do? Well, let's just elect this guy prime minister because there's no conflicts of interest in his portfolio. Nothing to see here, folks. You guys are all just drinking the Kool-Aid. Drinking the Kool-Aid. From 2007 to 2015, in my home country of Canada, you know, violent crime was leveling off and actually going down in places. The Liberal government took over, and it's pretty much at an all-time high. The United States, prior to this administration's clampdown on immigration, was seeing the same trends, upward trends, if you will. So, what are we going to do, folks? You know, we got to start making some hard choices. We're watching Western culture as we know it just get turned upside down from all angles. whether it's, the communists or whatever you want to, wherever you look, we are under attack. We are under attack, folks. Well, that's all I got for you this week. Don't want to be too depressing. What can I tell you? Don't take your mistress to a Coldplay concert. I still can't get over that. That is just too funny. But yeah, folks, thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate everything, all your support. As I said earlier in the show, if you want to hear more of what I'm rambling on about, drop me a line, beastbellymedia@gmail.com. Go to my YouTube channel, Sashman TV, SASHMAN TV. Type in PISCOPOD and my ugly muggle pop up, and you can check out the 6 prior episodes. Basically, again, I've said this on numerous shows, I just want some dialogue. We need to talk because, folks, we are in a propaganda machine. It is crazy. We are getting bombarded, and the divisiveness is what they're anticipating on. They fear our power as a united front. I've said that before. I'll say it again. Folks, thanks for tuning in. That's all I got for you this week. Enjoy your week ahead. I hope to, share some more positive news whenever positive news comes out. But let's face it, we are in a negative news cycle. It just seems to go on and on and on. Anyway, folks, take care of one another. Thank you for tuning in. Keep your eyes open. Send me some ideas. Send me some feedback. I'd love to talk to you. I really would. I try to answer everybody that emails me and stuff, good or bad. With this kind of work, I know that there's going to be guys and gals that dig what I'm doing, and there's going to be the opposite side of the coin as well. And that's okay. We don't, like Granddaddy used to say, if we all like the same things, everybody'd be after your grandma. So we don't all have to agree, but we all have to have the ability to talk. We have to share the ability to flesh out differences and find our common ground. I think that we've forgotten how to do that. So maybe next week, be cognizant of that. Instead of taking your hard line in the sand, listen a little closer. Maybe it's like, yeah, I can kind of see that, and maybe here's what I can personally do to facilitate something a little easier, even as much as a smile. You give someone a smile in the beginning of the day, that might change their day. Little things like that. It doesn't have to be something big and monumental. It doesn't have to be captured all over TV and go viral. Just be kind. Open your eyes. Stay vigilant. And stand up for what you believe in. Folks, we will see you next Sunday. We are in holiday mode, my wife and I. It is summertime in the Rockies of Alberta, so I just don't know how we're going to do episodes while we're away on vacation. I may even do one from out in God's country in the beautiful Canadian Rockies. I might be able to do one if I get signal. Anyway, folks, thanks again for tuning in. I do appreciate the support. Write in if you got any show ideas or stuff that you want me to look at or to cover. And again, I appreciate the support. See ya!